Hello and welcome to another episode of the Zamboni Zone. Today on the show we have LQ. Today's topic, top 10 players to never win a Stanley Cup. And we'll be right back with that in just a moment. And we're back. So LQ, are you enjoying your time here? What do you think so far?
You know, this is the first time I've heard of this, and this is the first time I heard of the name, the Zamboni Zone. Can't believe that hasn't been taken yet.
Well, they are one of our first ever episodes that came up with that on the spot. And I guess he liked it so much, he told me to just go with it, and I did.
That got a chuckle out of me. I was like, what? Where did you get the Zamboni Zone from?
Well, I'm glad you like it, but... So today our topic is top 10 players to never win a Stanley Cup. So in order to be eligible for that, they have to be retired players. They can't be actively playing. So guys like Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau,
Austin Matthews.
They're not going to be eligible for this competition. So first on the list, number 10, coming at you. A very good player, Los Angeles King, I believe Red Wing, Ranger too. How many seasons did he play for?
I haven't even heard of this guy.
Marcel Dion.
This is before my time.
If you haven't heard of Marcel Dion, fantastic player. I got the stats over here. He played in 1,348 games, scored 731 goals, and had 1,040 assists.
I could do better.
Anyways, that's just a fantastic career out of anyone, so... Moving on to our next person on the list.
Number 9.
And who's number 9?
Cam Neely.
Cam Neely, former Bruin. Played for... when I heard him on this list, when I was looking up a few players just to get an idea of who I should put on the list, I was actually really surprised he didn't win a cup because he played all those years with Bobby Orr. And,
Is he the one that was in that controversial knee-on-knee hit between him and, was it Adam Oates, maybe?
He led the charge in the playoffs as the Bruins once again fought their way to the Wales Conference Final, this time against the Penguins. And it was during that series that Neely's confrontations with Ulf Samuelsson would change the course of his hockey career.
He set him up. That's a I'm going to blow your knee out check.
I don't respect the way the guy played. You know, if you're going to do certain things and play a certain way, the way that he played, I think that you need to be prepared for what comes your way as far as what the rules of the games are.
Well, he had 726 goals. Actually, let me correct that. 726 games played, 395 goals, and 299 assists. He's the first player on the list out of the two that we've listed so far that has not played over 1,000 games. Most of these players will have played either by themselves or in their group. I'm not going to reveal too much here.
It's like all but 2.
Over 1,000 games, but we're just going to move on to the next one. Let's get a newer player in here. We got number 8, Peter Bondra, former Capital, and a name you've probably heard a little more recently.
Yeah, I was alive during his play.
And why don't you tell us his stats there?
Let's see. He got, 1,081 games, 503 goals, 389 assists. Obviously a goal scorer there, you know.
Doesn't like to pass as much, a few less. Just like you, don't know how to pass.
Excuse me? Talking from you?
So we're going to move on here, and on to number 7. Number 7 is not an individual, but a group of players, the French Connection. And for those of you that don't know, that is made up by René Robert, Gilbert Perreault, and Rick Martin, former Buffalo Sabres. And combined, they had 2,620 games played for 1,180 goals and 1,549 assists. So, more assists than goals in that group. Something you could learn from.
You don't pass. I've played with you.
You
don't pass. You don't pass.
You are full
You don't
of it.
pass.
You're full of it.
I just don't wanna hear it. We've actually seen a couple of these French Connection players in person.
Unfortunately,
not playing.
They didn't win the cup. So why don't you throw out your honorable mention there?
Okay, the Sabres won a cup.
So honorable mention to the entire Buffalo Sabres team. They continue to let us down year after year.
Very much so.
But we still love them.
This is a cool logo. That's why I stick in.
The Buffalo Sabres and their French Connection line became the talk of the NHL during the 1972-73 season. Even after eliminating Buffalo, the Montreal Canadiens couldn't say enough about the French Connection line, especially centerman Gilbert Perreault. Gilbert Perreault became so popular in Buffalo, they anglicized his name to Gil Perreault. He was such a sensation throughout the NHL 2 years ago, he won the Calder Trophy and broke the record for most goals by a rookie as he scored 38 times.
Next on the list, number 6, the Sedins. I think one of the most memorable plays I remember from them is actually against one of our other honorable mentions, Mika Kiprasov, famous goaltender, where I believe it was Daniel, maybe Henrik. There's only 2 of them. It has to be one. Puts it through his legs and scored a goal over the shoulder of the goaltender. I know, it's a complex math there.
Huh? Oh, so I was carrying the 1.
So, the 2 of them combined for 2,636 games played, 633 goals, and 1,478 assists. That's an impressive total right there. Definitely passers, I could have even thrown Alex Burrows in there with them, but...
Alexander Burrows?
Yeah, Alex Burrows. And he probably has all their goals because they clearly have most of the assists.
I feel like Henrik was more the goal scorer. Or was Daniel?
No, Daniel. Definitely Daniel.
Daniel more the goal scorer?
You gotta learn your facts. Check your facts.
I'm not a Canucks fan.
Check your facts.
I'm not a Canucks fan.
Check them.
Hey, they were pretty loyal to that team.
Yes. Number
when did they retire?
5.
Like a year ago?
Number 5.
Okay.
Shane Doan. Fantastic player. Phoenix Coyote. Arizona Coyote. He played for them all. Spent, I believe, 1,540 games there. 462 goals. 570 assists. That's a lot of points. And unfortunately, he played on such a bad team for most of the years he played there that he basically didn't even have a chance to win a cup.
It's true.
Great player, though, so he's well deserving of number 5 on our list. And check out this great goal by him. Alright, we're back.
We never left. I guess we did, but...
Number 4 on the list, Pavel Bure. Who could forget the 94 Stanley Cup final? I know neither of us were alive for it, but how could you forget it? Mark Messier's guarantee.
Oh yeah, that was that one.
And the Rangers managed to beat the Canucks in
forgot
7. And similar to the last video, as K-Man mentioned, the Canucks rioted and burned down their city. Because the Canucks should be booted from the league. They're a terrible team.
They're not a terrible team, they just got a terrible fan base.
According to Kaz, they are, but...
I was never against the
Look,
Canucks.
I don't have any problem with the Canucks.
You got a problem with the Canucks?
I actually, I don't mind the Canucks, actually. They're interesting to watch. They got some fast players. They got Brock Besser. They got Pettersson, who thinks he's better than Eichel for some reason. But he's definitely not. They got Quinn Hughes, who's nowhere even close to Dahlin. But for some reason, fans seem to think he is just because he's further along in his development. I'll give you that. He is more developed at the moment. But by the end of their careers, I honestly cannot see Dahlin being worse than Hughes by the end of his career.
I thought this was a video on people who should have won the Stanley Cup, not arguing with Canucks fans in the chat.
Well, you know what? You brought up the question, so I'm just answering it for you. Go Canucks, go.
Okay.
Next on the list, Daniel Alfredsson. Alfredsson had 1,246 games played, 444 goals, a nice 3 in a row of the 4s there, and 713 assists. So
they were a good team in time.
Played with
Danny Heatley,
they
Jason
were
Spezza.
Definitely an impressive team for a long time. And you want to tell me why he didn't win a cup in 2007?
Because the Ducks won. The superior team.
Did you speak up? I didn't hear you.
Teemu Selanne one of the best players ever, and Paul Kariya, right?
No.
No.
Incorrect.
No, Paul Kariya wasn't on the team. Pronger was on the team.
Pronger was, but he actually got suspended 2 games throughout those
Wasn't Jaguar on the team?
playoffs.
Wasn't Jaguar on that?
Jaguar was playing goaltender,
Yeah.
and you know who their backup goaltender was?
Oh, it was a dude who loves space.
You can't
Bears.
forget this guy, Ilya Bryzgalov.
Yeah,
Briz. No, I can't even put him on the list for honorable mentions
he won the
because
cup with the Ducks.
He did. He won the cup as a backup.
One of the best teams, the Anaheim Ducks.
Moving on, our next forward. That's
This
a
is
hint
number
right there.
2.
Number 2. Jerome McGinley. Any question about that? I'm sure you can understand that.
I mean, you're a big Calgary fan, so you might be a little biased.
I don't think very many people would argue with me on that one.
That's
They might
true.
put him in a different spot on the list. They might put him lower, or
Did
higher.
he get drafted
even
to
higher.
Calgary?
No, drafted
No?
by Dallas, traded before. I think before even playing a game with them. If he did play, it was only 1 or 2 games, maybe. But he got traded for Joe Nieuwendyk, believe it or not,
What a
who
bad
went on
trade.
to scumbag the Sabres in the '99 Cup final. But it wasn't. But Brett Hull's the real enemy here.
I was gonna say, speaking of the Stars in 1999, I haven't heard Brett Hull on this list.
Well, we haven't heard number 1 yet, have we?
I guess not. I guess, or yeah.
So we'll get Iginla's stats here. Iginla
It could be
played
Brett Hull.
1,554 games. That's a lot of games. 625 goals, 675 assists. An all-around team player. One of the best captains I've ever seen. You know, some people would argue Messier. I think Iginla was a little bit better because, you know, he had that perfect balance of offensive talent with willing to stand up for his teammates and fight a guy when he needed to. And he was just a stand-up guy. Gotta respect her.
I was always a fan of Michael Pekka. Captain Michael Pekka.
And before we get to our first overall person on the top 10 list here, we are going to go through a few honorable mentions. So, LQ, you want to give us the first 3?
Okay,
to
we
be in
got
order.
Thomas Vanek.
Is that all? You're not going to tell us a little bit about him?
I don't know if I agree with that one. I don't even know if I agree with that.
Oh my God. Vanek, great player for a lot of teams. I believe he played for Columbus, he played for Florida, he played for Detroit, he played for Montreal, he played for the Islanders, he played for the Sabres, and he played for Vancouver briefly. That's a lot of teams.
Played for a lot.
If I missed any,
let
let me know in the comments.
Let's just say he was a top player for the Sabres back in those days.
And if I didn't say it, Minnesota, he actually got bought out by them and then ended up in Detroit. But
for most teams, I don't think he was that elite player that really brought teams.
Well, you'd be surprised. Back in the early mid 2000s, 2006, 2007, he was pretty much our best player on the Sabres.
I feel like a Finneganoff.
Wow,
it's pretty underrated.
We're not talking about a Finneganoff though.
Oh, just on that team.
You want to throw him in there as an honor mention? Sure.
I mean, I guess. I mean, the Atlanta Thrashers. He should have won a cup. Danny Heatley and Evander Kane.
I'll rattle off a
Hedberg.
few. We got Dino Ciccarelli. We got Adam Oates. You've already mentioned Vanek. We got Eric Lindros. You know, he might be higher on the list, but you know, you kind of understand it with all the concussion issues that he's an honorable mention because his career was cut a little short, so he didn't have a chance to prove himself necessarily. But he did do very well with what he did have as a career. We got Matt Sundin. Toronto Maple Leafs all-time leading scorer, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know why he's not, he'd probably be number 11, number 12.
We're not Leafs fans, that's why.
That makes sense.
Paul Kariya. I already mentioned Kiprusoff.
Kariya.
And our very best honorable mention, cannot forget, the one and only John Scott.
I mean, I don't know how he didn't win one.
I mean, John Scott, legendary player. I almost put him at number 1 on this list, but LQ was protesting.
He almost got, more points than Gretzky, maybe. Right?
I hope you mean Brent Gretzky.
I mean...
Anyways, on to number 1, the moment you've all been waiting for. I bet none of you are going to guess this, but it's not a forward this time. It's a goaltender.
I think you all just guessed it with that hint.
It's Roberto Luongo, former Panther, former Canuck, absolutely killed it in his Salt Bay costume for Halloween.
Was 2011 the year he went to the finals?
Yes, with against the Bruins.
Yeah.
Very close. Couldn't do it though.
Got clapped.
1,044 games played, a 489 wins, a 2.52 goals against average, a .919 save percentage, and 77 shutouts. Impressive stats all around. And that's why he is number 1 on our top 10 list of players who should have won a Stanley Cup but didn't before they retired. So, LQ, any topics to bring up for the rest of the show here? I mean, we got a little time left, so we'll just throw out some pressing questions. Let me ask you this: who's your favorite team?
Well, like the Sabres or other than the Sabres?
Well, other than the Sabres, I mean, I think we all in agreement here that the Sabres are the best team because this is a Buffalo-based show, but they haven't given us much to root for, so some of us, have decided to, in the meantime, just watch some other hockey aside from Buffalo, because, it gets a little painful once in a while. And
well, the pain train doesn't stop where I'm going, because I'm a Ducks fan.
Oh, the Ducks.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's not going well for me recently. Who's their star player? Ryan Getzlaf, the old man? Isn't he their star right now?
I would say either him
Raquel,
or Ricard Raquel, yeah. And Corey Perry no longer with the team.
Yeah, it's Corey Perry. He's a star.
He and Getzlaf did win a Stanley Cup with the Ducks.
2007! Before I was really into hockey, because I was, really young.
Prevented Alfredson from winning a cup, and Spezza. Anyways.
Yeah, big Ducks fan.
Really just an absolute disappointment of that team all around.
Hey, maybe next year's the year.
Speaking of Ducks, Brandon Montour, former Duck.
He's a Sabre now, isn't he?
Yes.
What's your favorite team other than the Sabres, Peter?
Well, you know what? Other than the Sabres, I like the Calgary Flames. We got
we already went over this.
The jersey right here. You mentioned it earlier. Mika Kiprusoff, one of my favorite goaltenders of all time. I had the privilege of watching him. Really, just all-around great team. I like Johnny Gaudreau. I like Sean Monahan, Giordano, and that's the core of your team. Honestly, the Sabres should take notes and try and build like they did.
I mean, Sabres have, a good lineup, but it just really drops off fast. I feel like the Flames and Sabres have almost a similar talent base, but the Flames just got their crap together in the coaching room and all that stuff. And Sabres are it's just GM and coaching are just not been on the same page for just, I don't know how long.
And some of the best players we got were from the Flames. We used to have Robin Regier, but now we have Michael Frolik.
Oh, yeah, the main penalty killer.
Okay, so I put Frolik in the last episode, and before anyone hates on me for trashing Frolik with that last
what was
segment,
the last episode?
You didn't see it yet, but
no.
That's okay. Let me just say, I love Frolik because I'm a Flames fan, but, he's not going to carry our team. He's just a depth player, so.
We need someone that's actually a depth player.
Well, we need some upper depth instead of just the fourth line depth.
Yeah, really.
Would you tell me this? Is Frolik better than any of the depth we had in 2013? Do you think he's better than,
okay, when you got,
Billy Lano, Cody Hodgson,
wasn't
Chris
Weber,
Stewart?
But not like the good
Mike
Weber.
Weber was a defenseman, but
he was a
I'm talking forwards here. We got Chris Stewart.
John Scott.
Tyler Ennis was our best player.
That's true.
We had other defensemen that were terrible, like Alexander Seltzer. He got him in the Hodgson trade as well.
I got a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
From
Steve Ott. Yeah.
Oh yeah, face-off extraordinaire Steve Ott.
It was painful hockey to watch, and honestly, we don't want to go back. As much as we complain now that we're still not good, we don't want to go back.
We've been on the bottom for a long time.
And to close out the show, one last thing to do here. Elke, you want to just step out of the way for half a second here?
You're making me get up?
So, as I mentioned, Joe Thornton was ineligible for winning, so we're going to give another honorable mention to the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. 4 in a row! 4 in a row! 4 in a...
Don't remind me.
I'd say I'm going to blow your knee out, Jack.
I don't respect the way the guy played.